Hi and welcome back to Tales Against Humanity, I don't work here lady. In today's episode, Karen assumes I work at a local grocery store due to my high visibility vest and hat. Girls mistake me for Olympian, ask me to help them move, my ego almost got us all killed. Before we get started, make sure to subscribe so you will never miss a video. So let's get started. Karen assumes I work at a local grocery store due to my high visibility vest and hat. An insistent Karen detains me for failing to provide her assistance, TLDR at the bottom. Background: I'm a 40-year-old man and in a wheelchair. I won't say why, but suffice it to say I can't really walk anymore. I generally only go out after dark and favor dark clothing. This has caused me to nearly be run over multiple times, because if I'm being honest here, the drivers where I live are inept, unobservant, vapid morons. To combat this, I bought a high visibility reflective vest that are most often worn by road work crews, construction workers, power company engineers, you get the idea. I also habitually wear baseball-style hats when I go out, so I coupled the vest with a matching high visibility hat. The setting: there is a local chain of supermarkets, owned by a much larger corporation. They got their start in Portland, but are owned by a much larger corporate entity while still keeping the original store name. So I don't wind up throwing the store under the bus. For the remainder of the story, I'm going to call it Shop Store. Shop Store's employees generally wear black aprons with the store's logo at the top, and a white/red name badge with their names engraved on it. The managers/shift leads wear red vests. The trolley boys or cart wranglers, as well as the janitorial staff, wear the high visibility vests similar to the one I described above. In the store's defense, it's virtually identical to mine, only mine doesn't have big black words on the back that says Shop Store Employee. The event: this happened on Tuesday. As I often wind up doing 3 to 4 times a week, I found myself at Shop Store to pick up a few things. I'm a regular there, so I know a good deal of the staff there, from the checkout workers all the way up to the store manager. A trip that would take one person perhaps a mere 15 minutes winds up taking me an hour, because I like to chat with my friends working on staff about their lives and mine. I've always been a bit of a social butterfly. What probably did me in, though, was an older woman who I honestly felt was going to burst into a panic attack any moment, approached me and almost begged me for help. She said that she was totally lost, and she needed to know where the over-the-counter medicine was in the store. She nearly broke down, saying she'd been wandering the store trying to find it, and that the OTC drugs weren't at the pharmacy like one would expect. I comforted her because I see myself as a decent guy, and I pointed her where to go since I used that section to get my non-prescription meds. The older woman was over the moon with gratitude. That's when she arrived. Unlike a good deal of stories I read about Karens, she didn't strike from the shadows. Rather, I saw her coming towards me like the shockwave of an atomic blast, and I really couldn't do much more than brace for the inevitable impact. I know I said I'm a social butterfly, but I do have anxiety over confrontations. I don't like them, and they tend to really affect me in a bad way. Sure, I can talk your ear off for hours, but in this case, coming at me with that speed, posture, and body language was a Soviet propaganda parade of red flags to me. Right off the bat, she barks that she's been wandering the store for hours looking for someone to assist her. I didn't call her out on that one, because she was clearly upset, but with that said, I knew that was total BS. There are far too many people on staff all over the store for her to have evaded bumping into one even by accident. The odds were so astronomical that Neil deGrasse Tyson would have walked out on that number crunching. She demands to know where a rather specific brand of chili is shelved within the store. I politely as I could tell her that I don't actually work there, and that this is a common mistake. I told her I wear the vest to avoid being hit when I'm in the parking lot. That's a lie, you just don't want to help me. I bet you don't even need that wheelchair. I mean, look at you. You're just fat and lazy, and you're one of those sympathy hires. Sympathy hires? Seriously? I thought to myself. This is Shop Store Lady, not Conglomomart, who is renowned for hiring people with disabilities. What I said was, "Ma'am, that was pretty disrespectful. I don't work here, period." Now if I did, what makes you think I'd even consider helping you for 1 minute when you come at me like a cat in heat full of piss and vinegar? You gave me an attitude, and you insulted me. That's not a way to treat somebody, lady. Annoyed grunt, fine. Whatever. Just admit that you work here, and we can start over. You're probably just telling me this, so you won't get in trouble for not being helpful at all. Wow. I'd never seen such an insincere apology or acknowledgement of one's misbehavior devolve into doubling down that fast before. I mused. Look at the back of my vest, lady. It doesn't say ShopMart employee on it. So, wouldn't that mean I don't in actuality work here? Did you stop for even a second and consider that? Honestly, lady, you should try out for the U.S. Olympic track team with that conclusion you leapt to. Shocked gasp, how dare you? She sputtered. Before she could lower her 16-inch USS Iowa class gun tirade at me, I interrupted her. No. We're done. And to show you we're done, I'm leaving. That's how I paused for dramatic effect, roll. And I did just that. I pushed my chair right out of the store, leaving this woman to beg and plead for any measure of attention or sympathy over being told off by an employee. I only looked back one last time to see one of the two store managers approach the inconsolable woman. The manager, I'm sure, got her the help she needed and probably explained to this woman that I wasn't an employee at all. Sure, it's not the most exciting story, but that's my story and I'm sticking to it. Girls mistake me for Olympian, ask me to help them move. My ego almost got us all killed. Filming a video at work the other day. We help film the safety videos for other people's places of work. This particular video had a quippy bit along the lines of, even an Olympic weightlifter shouldn't attempt these heavy maneuvers without noting proper form and procedure. I do almost exclusively behind-the-scenes stuff, but occasionally pitch in when we have non-speaking bit parts like this that aren't worth coordinating an actor for. So I put on this very hokey Olympic weightlifter costume that was literally a pair of spandex shorts and a shirt that said weightlifter on it with the Olympic rings and US flag sewn on, probably nothing like what Olympians actually wear, but much easier and cheaper for getting the joke across. I pretended to execute this particular company's operations improperly while acting in pain, and the whole thing took maybe 20 minutes, but I still had a lot of work to do, and we were way behind, so didn't find the time to stop and change back to my regular clothes. End of the day came and the whole project had taken a lot longer than we anticipated, so we were all exhausted and eager to get out of there. I hurried home, and was just walking up to the front of my apartment building when this gorgeous woman flags me down. I did a double take because surely she couldn't be talking to me? Something critically important to know at this juncture: I am pretty much the picture of average physically and personally. Not a pity party, I work hard for that average. Things could frankly be a lot worse. But anyways, this becomes relevant, and not just because of my sad dating life. Hang in. So this stunning woman touches my shoulder, rendering me speechless, and also confirming I'm who she was after, and says, "Oh, perfect. Hi, my name is Tanya, I'm your neighbor across the hall. I don't think we've formally met before. Look, my girlfriend's moving in on the 3rd floor, our building is a walk-up, and the moving company she hired doesn't have a COI, so the landlord isn't letting them up. Any chance you could help us? I mean, clearly it wouldn't be a challenge for you." She again brushes against me flirtatiously. So, as this is happening, I've realized she's seen my costume shirt from the shoot, and inferred I'm some kind of world-class weightlifter. I don't want to perpetuate a lie, but I don't want her to lose interest in me. This is a beautiful woman right in my building. And I figured as long as she doesn't explicitly ask, "Hey, were you in the Olympics?" it isn't exactly lying. The convoluted plan I'd formed in my head was that I'd help her move, because even I can lift boxes. And then, once we had a date scheduled, and she asked me about my Olympic glory, I'd say, "Oh, that. Haha, no, let me explain," and it would be a funny misunderstanding we could look back and laugh about, because by then enough time would have passed that she would see other worthwhile qualities in me. Like how I can keep any houseplant alive, and have really organized closets. Basically the same as being an Olympian, right? So I confidently tell her, not a problem. What needs moving? I get over to the curb near the truck and the first things I see are a whole sectional couch, a 5-tiered wooden armoire, a grandfather clock, a massage chair, a treadmill, and a box spring. Just lifting my regular boxes when I'd moved, with plates and linens and stuff, was a major physical undertaking for me that had required multiple breaks, and I didn't even live in a unit accessed by stairs. But I was determined to impress this girl and more importantly at that point, not horrifically humiliate myself in a scene that would surely spread to the rest of the tenants, so I once again allowed a convoluted not so much plan this time as delusion to form for me mentally. I figured there were 3 of us, me, her, and her friend, so none of the objects could be too difficult to transport. Plus, I had just spent all day listening to professionals instruct on the safest way to lift heavy objects. So we started with the heirloom armoire because it was closest to the door and the most valuable item, so what her friend was most worried about leaving on the street. They actually wanted one of the girls to stay out there to watch the stuff, but I knew that way I'd have no chance of getting any of those things up 3 flights of stairs in a manner befitting a pro athlete, so convinced them that for their own safety in regard to weight distribution, there needed to be 3 of us. We lifted the armoire. We got it to the door. I was immediately physically and mentally dying just from having to step over the little hump between the door and the lobby. I felt like my arms had been crushed by a steamroller by the time we got to the stairs, and my core was twisted up like a pretzel. I was so tense I could barely get a breath in. I was grateful that the armoire was at least obscuring my face, because I probably looked like a high diver just before they hit the water. And worse, the girls were, understandably, not making too intense an effort to carry their end, figuring I had it covered, so they were making unlabored casual conversation with me, and I was too strained to give any real response. Then we got to the stairs. In the back of my mind, where my conscience probably is, I knew I had to stop putting up this ridiculous act and confront the fact that I could not move all this stuff. But the logic part of my brain was telling me that there was no way to stop on the stairs while simultaneously resting the armoire. If I set it down even just for a second, it would slip because of the width and angle of the stairs. Just when I started to feel the lightheadedness really intensifying, I tripped over my own feet, and in an effort to steady myself I shot a hand out onto the banister and lost the grip on my end. I yelled out both, because I wanted to warn the girls who were on the other side before they were crushed by this thing, and because it fell on my toes, and it went crashing down the stairs and shattered down onto the concrete entry floor. The girls managed to get out of the way though, which is the really important thing. I then had to explain that I was not, in fact, an Olympic weight lifter or lifter of any things of any kind, and I will likely have to buy her a new armoire because I'm sure this one is broken. I'm also sure at least 2 of my toes are broken. So, I got my karma for being disingenuous. Luckily the neighbor and her friend, my new neighbor, were pretty understanding about the situation. And when my toe is healed, I plan to draw inspiration from this otherwise abysmal experience, to maybe, sometimes, hit the gym.